All right. Now we will look at IGN's review. Whatever that might be. All right, so we got more of the
When I gave Elden Ring a 10 2 years ago, I did so not just because it's an incredible game, but also because it raised the bar for open world games as a whole.
Yes, it
the
did.
way it encourages
Here, let me
exploration,
turn on subtitles.
rewards curiosity.
I don't
and
expect a lot
challenges you
from
to
this
find your
review,
own
but we'll see.
individual solutions to difficult combat encounters by including tons of different viable weapons, spells, and other
What's going on
build
with this guy's
options.
mic?
Is
Oh, that's a new
absolutely
armor.
exemplary.
That's a new
Now,
guy.
From Software is back to raise the bar on everyone yet again. This time when it comes to what you would expect from a simple DLC. Shadow of the Erdtree may not do anything radically different from the base game, but this expansion somehow feels
like
a
new sword
down version of that same
Oh yeah,
experience,
that's definitely a new area.
recapturing
Okay.
all the magic of
Oh my
playing Elden
God,
Ring
that guy
for
looks
the first
sick.
time, with more content packed within than many full-price
Lana
games.
the Twin Moon
Its
Knight. Okay.
unexpectedly large realm is filled with new secrets, new
Fingers.
discoveries, a
Finger
ton of new
butthole.
build options to experiment with, as well as
What
some
is
of
that?
the most challenging and unforgettable boss battles Souls fans will
What
have
the
ever seen.
heck? That guy looked amazing.
I strolled into Shadow of the Erdtree thinking that I was some kind of Elden Lord badass, having defeated Melania,
Whoa.
Moog, Plasudasax,
Oh, it's the fire
Elden
giant
Beast,
thingy.
and every other big threat around. My level 150 character was armed with fully upgraded gear and the maximum number of flasks, but let me tell you, it did not take very long for the realm of Shadow to humble me.
That's good to know. Oh. Okay, well that was just stupid. Why did he go towards the gigantic thing with fire?
Even though it is brutal. From Software definitely skirts the line between fair and unfair with some of the later boss designs.
Oh my God, that's gonna probably be my
perhaps
favorite
getting
boss.
closer than ever. But crucially, it never actually crosses that threshold. And that masterful tightrope walk, along with some truly spectacular boss design, results in some of the most thrilling and satisfying bosses Elden Ring and the entire Souls-like genre has to offer. It's not just the quality of those fights either. Erdtree has them in quantity too.
Okay.
According to our count, there are more than 40 bosses, with 10 of those being the big showstopper fights that
got a boar fighter now?
upon defeat. Compare that to the more than 100
Oh,
in
and
the
he's
base
got
game,
the gravity
and
magic.
It's a significant chunk. But even
heck?
with all the discoveries to be made, I never felt lost or unsure of where I should go next.
That
The main
sword
goal of this
looks
DLC is to follow the footsteps
awesome.
of the demigod Miquella, who left his flesh behind and fled to the realm of Shadow. These footsteps are marked by large crosses that elegantly serve as subtle signposts to let you know when you're in the vicinity
so
of a
instead of it being
plot-driven
grace,
path,
it's gonna be like
without
crosses.
it ever feeling like your hand is being held as you're nudged in one explicit direction.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella?
Apart from the main quest, there's a host of new NPCs, including 7 followers of Miquella that you'll encounter at various points in the journey. Each of them have their own small quest line that ties into the main story, and those can even have an effect on some of the later boss battles, depending on your actions.
Bale! Vile Bale!
Okay.
Oh, terror incarnate!
And while I consider myself a fairly
got more of
casual
them
enjoyer
troll
of Elden
giants.
Ring's extensive lore compared to some of the scholars out there, even my limited knowledge of the deeper plot let me appreciate some of the fantastic, eye-opening revelations towards the end of the story that are well worth the effort of getting to. It took me about 25 hours or so to beat the final boss of Shadow
Slayer.
of the Erdtree, but I could easily see myself putting in another 15 or 20 on just this one playthrough. I still have a handful of optional bosses I need to go back to cross off my list, areas on the map that I haven't fully explored, weapons and skills that I haven't gotten to play around with yet, and side quests that I want to follow to completion. That's pretty much exactly
looks so
like when I completed
How
my
do they
review of the
do
base
it?
game after
It
about
looks so
80 hours.
beautiful there.
Which makes
and
sense
huge.
because Shadow of the Erdtree is essentially a mini Elden Ring adventure. It condenses the whole experience down to something comparatively compact, all of it satisfyingly tuned specifically for endgame characters who thought they've seen it all.
That must be one of the new dragon sword weapons or whatever, like they did for Flaxus or however you say it.
While I haven't had any holy shit moments of awe, like the first time I took the elevator
How
down to
dare
the
you.
Shifa River,
I doubt
exploration and discovery throughout the realm of Shadow is still a delight thanks to its stellar art design, a great variety in the areas you get to explore.
Okay, we got
and
one of
the
those
tantalizing
boat people
rewards
back.
pretty
Okay.
much everywhere you turn. There are 8 brand new weapon types, ranging from throwing knives to beast claws
Ooh.
to giant Odachi
That's what I'm
samurai
most excited to
swords.
use.
My favorite of the new arsenal, though, is the light greatsword, specifically the Milady. True to its name, the Milady has a very regal-looking moveset with
the
combos
heck?
that flow nicely into each other and hit hard,
Alright,
but
it's
are
kind of
also
like
relatively
a
fast compared
rapier,
to actual rapiers.
sort of, but except you
For
get some
me, it's a
jumping
sweet
moves,
spot.
acrobats.
I actually swapped off of my powerful
Call
dual
back
banded curved sword
to
bleed build
the-
to instead rock a strength and dexterity
What are they
focused
called?
build using one of these and found great success for the majority of the DLC.
The Watchers? No.
I experimented with a couple of other
know what I'm
weapons as
talking
well, something that is possible thanks to the ample opportunities to collect a bunch more Ancient Dragon smithing stones of both the standard and
Watchers.
somber varieties. However, in all my travels, I found that while the new weapon types are
Right
fun,
finger, but
I mean,
oh.
there's certainly an appeal to going hand-to-hand against an army of hands, none of them ultimately measured up to the strength of the weapons I carried over from the base game.
Why are so many hands? Damn.
It's totally possible that there are some talismans I was missing to really make the new one sing, but I was hoping to go through the entirety of Erdtree.
Those
with a brand
weapons
new
look
build.
like,
Instead, I found myself swapping
Nameless
back to my bread and
King's
butter
curved
bleed build
sword.
to
I
get
don't
the
remember
kind
the
of
name,
damage
though.
that I needed when the going got tough.
Okay. So he's
Still,
not a
variety
boss.
is the spice of life, and Erdtree is one hot
Right.
dish. Not only are there a
Oh,
ton
you got the
of
one
new
with
weapons,
two.
there
That's
are
probably
also
from the
plenty of new
twin
spells,
moon,
Ashes of
moon
War,
twin night,
Spirit
whatever.
Ash summons, and talismans to cover an enormous range of different playstyles.
Alright.
There's now a talisman that enhances two-handed attacks,
Okay.
one that decreases spellcasting time dramatically, but causes you to take increased damage, another that increases the damage of abilities that involve stances, and another still that increases your damage every time you defeat an enemy. And yes, there are also plenty that are just better versions of very useful talismans.
Oh, so they finally
that you
started
probably
adding the one
already
with
have.
three plus
And
three
there's no
if they
shame in
didn't
sticking
already.
to what works. There are so many
Okay.
fun new builds that I couldn't help but wish that larval tears were a little more plentiful so I could respec my character a little more freely. I started to run out by the time I finished the campaign, and I still have a ton of different builds that I want to try.
For the record, yeah, like what you just said, if y'all have never played Elden Ring before, the larva tiers, if you want to change things up with the levels you have or appearance and stuff like that. So just give it a little catch up if you haven't touched Elden Ring in a while. I started playing it again just for the sake of, well, getting ready for it tomorrow. And I got a plus our New World 3 character where I'm on, what's it, Godwyn, and then, well, Elden Beast. And then I started up another character just to get a feel for it again. So, continue. Joy of Freedom. Okay. Something IGN
The
never
journey
has.
through the Realm of Shadow is structured very similarly to the Lands Between, in that the map is split up into a number of different regions. Right from the get-go, you're able to head anywhere you want to. You could follow the initial Mikula Cross to the very first Legacy dungeon called Bellarat and deal with
That's
the
a
new horrific
pretty big
scorpion
pla-
enemies.
What the heck?
Or, scattered throughout the lands are Scadu fragments that you can collect and turn in at Sites of Grace to increase your overall damage and resistances. Likewise, you can also find revered
Okay. So I guess they made a system with Scadu to, however you say it, instead of having it where it increases the sacred tiers and the golden seeds, help the flasks or how much they give you. Instead, this is about, I guess from what he said, it's more about defense and damage dealing. Okay. I like the system. All right.
Spirit Ash blessings to increase the damage and survivability of your Spirit Ash
Well,
summons.
we've already.
These are two very smart inclusions as they add a much needed sense of progression, a valuable reward for exploration, and something else to hunt for if you're getting wrecked by a boss and need to come back when you're stronger. All while cleverly preserving some of the
Whoa.
original and game's
That
balance
looks cool.
if you're bravely tackling this DLC before circling back to beat the full game.
The verdict. Okay.
From Software says that Shadow of the Erdtree is the only expansion Elden Ring will get, so it's fortunate that it's hard to imagine a better DLC than this, as long as you're not hoping for it to do anything radically outside the box. Everything that I loved about the original has been condensed
That's a
into an
small
incredibly
guy
tight
again.
package,
I hated those
one
people.
that's the size of many standalone games all on
guys
its
sucked.
own, and can only really be considered small in comparison to the absolutely
Haha,
massive
you said
world of
small.
Elden Ring itself. Erdtree is absolutely jam-packed with secrets, valuable treasures, challenging boss battles, and horrific
Ooh.
monstrosities to face off against, as
Okay,
well as
flame
cool new
cardona,
weapons, spells, ashes of war, spirit ashes, talismans, and more to play around with and use to find even more novel ways to tackle its memorably brutal battles. Add on some very interesting lore revelations,
I got another
not to
tree
mention the
sentinel,
same
okay.
spectacular visual design and stellar
He's
music
got
that
fire
accompanies
on
his
him. He's
larger
got
than
fire.
life bosses,
Nice.
and you've
Nice
got what is certainly one of the best DLC expansions I've ever played.
Okay, well, I'll give IGN this one. At least they were
For
accurate
more
with
Elden
that.
Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, make sure that you're all set to go with our checklist of how to prepare for the DLC, along with our video showing how to level up quickly if you're not at a high enough level to tackle it yet. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Why can't the 21st come already? I want to get to this game, but we're so close, and I'm so excited. Oh my